Today is the last session in the 7 series technical training sessions. This training series will repeat again. I think we do it like every quarter. So you may get emails about it starting back up again. Some of the fundamental things that you're learning in here will repeat, obviously, but it may or may not be me doing it next time. But we do try to change it up, and we try to put in more systems of the week and stuff like that. So if you've enjoyed showing up for these, then feel free to do it again. It's always a good refresher. Another thing that I think is a good idea is having, 1 time a week or 2 times a week where you're focused on working on your business. So you're focused in TouchStone, you're focused in building processes. And so this can be a bit of an inspiration for that, for those who choose to view it that way. So if you watch this particular session and then you want to start to work more using your dashboard, or you watch the 4 key functions and you want to work more on your 4 key functions, or more to the point, process documentation itself, so using the process tools to document, then these sessions can kind of become a catalyst for that. All right. So I'm going to start by playing a little video clip that I love. It's classic Michael Gerber. For those of you who don't know who Michael Gerber is, he's wrote a book called The E-Myth, which really talks about the value of process documentation. He calls it a system. And there's a lot of, he's in his late 80s now, but there's a lot of old classic Michael Gerber videos on YouTube. For those of you who haven't seen them, they're really funny and interesting and good to watch. In these sessions, I've been really focused on management and how to create better managers, how to create consistent with your management. And this dashboard session that we're about to go into is really all about management. It's about the managing of your processes and managing people with processes. So I think I set this up right so it can be heard, but if you can't hear it, then just someone send me a chat and I'll, try to figure it out. But I think you'll be able to hear it.
The third system is how we manage here. Yes, a management system. You ask most managers how they manage. I manage. I manage. I mean, it's pretty difficult to manage around here, but I manage. I get by. I'm a people person. I can look into his eye. I can know when he's lying, when he's not. I had psychology in school. I've been around this business for a long time. Nobody can get by me. I manage. What do? I do what I do. He ain't going to tell you because he don't know what he does. He couldn't explain it in a million years. I know that's not true of anybody in the room. But it's true of everybody I meet out there. There ain't no management system. This is how we manage here. That's what they do in McDonald's. You think they hire professional managers from Harvard to come and manage those money machines? God forbid. They grow those people from the inside out. They teach them their system. They teach them everything they need to know to become better and better and better and better.
All right. So that video is much longer. If anyone's interested in watching it, you can find it on YouTube. But the point he's making, and the point that I'd like to make, is that your business needs management processes. You can't rely on people's personality and even their experience. You want to build management processes and require your managers to follow them. Use them yourself. Michael Gerber also classically used to say, you want to know what's wrong with your business? Hold up a mirror. And what he's saying is sometimes even the owners of a business don't follow the management processes. So if you're a manager in your business and you are the owner, that doesn't mean you're exempt from using your management processes. And in fact, by using them, you can refine them and make them what you want them to be. So this is the dashboard, and we're going to be weaving in this topic of management processes as we talk about this. So the fundamental purpose of the dashboard is to implement and manage processes. That's the fundamental purpose of it. Implement meaning train your employees in how to use them, whether that be ongoing training or new employee training, and then management requiring that they use them. So the first tool in that is the control panel right here. So this control panel should be the name of the position that the person who is logged in as fills. In some situations, there could be a person who has multiple control panels, particularly if they fill multiple roles on the org chart, temporarily until the business grows to the point that that second position would be filled with an actual person. But most of the time, you want to see one control panel here. So when I click the control panel, it takes me to my processes. So these are the processes that I'm accountable for as the manager of administration and finance. These processes are derived from the job description. So over here through the org chart, whatever processes are put on the job descriptions for these various positions, those are the processes that are going to appear in the control panel for that position. So whatever's put here, linked from the 4 key functions to the boxes on the chart, will then appear in the control panel for that position. All of it is controlled by the job description. So if I look at this and I want to remove this one for whatever reason, I can't remove it here. I'm in the control panel now, and this is where I use processes. I would need to go to the org chart, go to the manager of admin finance job description, and remove it from there. Whatever's added will appear here. Now, this control panel that I have, it looks pretty nice, right? It's all organized. I've got these groups here, and then I've got my processes organized into groups. There's a lot of processes on this job description, but it doesn't look too overwhelming because I've got it all organized into these nice little categories and groups. There's a lot of processes on this job description. If this was an actual control panel that I looked at inside of a user's account, I might think there might be too many. But you can get the point that these are all organized really nicely. I can scroll up and down. If I wanted to find something, I can do like a control in Chrome, and I could go right to the first letter of that word, but I can see things pretty clearly here too. So this is a nice looking control panel. This is not. Oops, wrong one. Let's go here. This is not a good looking control panel. And it's not because this is just this massive list of processes. There's no organization to it. They're all in what's called the default list here because this is what appears when you haven't created groups. If I was your employee and I logged in and looked at this, I might go, wow, what is all this? I can't really see all this. I don't know where to go to. I don't know what it's about. So the simple act of creating groups and organizing the processes into those groups really makes this way more usable. The employee themselves can go in through their dashboard and organize their own groups. They can create groups here, edit groups, delete groups, and then organize the processes into them. Or their manager can do it for them. So I'm in management review right here, and I clicked it from the dashboard. And I could go to Tom here, and I can organize his groups for him. I think this is a good exercise for either the manager and the employee to do together, or for the employee to do themselves. There doesn't need to be a whole lot of management control here on how Tom organizes his groups. You want it to be something that works for him. You want him to choose, because then he's taking accountability for this, right? And he's putting it into an organization that makes sense to him. So here's this create group. I just click it, and then I'm going to create a name of this first group. So this can be a subject. The title can be a subject like admin work. And I just hit save. And now you see that group down here. So subjects are good for groups. Another way to do them is timing, like, end of the month. Save. And then if we scroll down, we see that down here too. So here's the 2 groups so far. Another thing I've seen that works for certain types of positions is literal days of or hours of the day. So this could be like 8 a.m. or more morning you can put. Clearly this works for a certain type of position that their job that they do is really dictated by, hours of the day or times of the day. So once you've created groups that you like, then it's just a matter of just drag and dropping these processes into the groups. So you just go through, drag and drop, organize them. Sometimes when the person starts to organize the groups a little bit, like we're doing here, then they might see an opportunity for more groups. So you're starting to see like a certain theme to processes, like this is daily time logs, daily planning, time management. That says time management to me. To-do list. So maybe I want a group name called time management. So super easy. I'm just dragging these into their correct categories and organizing them. So how long did this take me? I don't know, 2 minutes maybe. Once you refresh, that default list is going to go away. And now here are the groups. I can even like take the whole group and drag it up to the top there and put this one first. So this is not that much time to organize all this. And this looks way better than what we were seeing before with that huge default list. So some of the things that I hear when I say to people, go organize your control panel. It's a mess. Build groups, organize things. Oh, that's going to take too much time. Another request we get is, well, can we create a set of default groups and then give everybody those groups? Well, you can do that. I mean, sure, we could do that, but I don't recommend that. That's like, that's missing a training opportunity, in my opinion. Because when Tom goes here himself and he looks at his processes and he starts to say, oh, look at everything that's here. What kind of groups can I have, right? He's starting to learn them. He's starting to own them. So it can be a very valuable exercise to go through. So number 1, about the control panel, organize groups. You saw me create groups. I can also edit groups. So I just hit edit. I hit the drop down here. I choose the group I want to edit. And maybe I want to call this morning instead of 8 a.m. And then I just hit save. Then you can delete groups. If I go to a group here and I hit the drop down and I'm like, let's get rid of that one. I hit delete. It's going to throw all those processes or those 2 back into the default list right here. So then this default list appears. Any processes that are in the default list, I would suggest that nobody has even looked at that. So that's a sign to you as a manager that this control panel is probably not being used because everything's still in the default list. So organizing groups. You can even do, move them around inside of the group. So I could put these in some kind of order. So let's go back here to the dashboard and click this control panel again. So right here at the top, I just wanted to point this out. I've put in these 5 management processes that I think are really good. This idea, even when Michael Gerber is talking about it, about creating a management system, the way you manage, don't let it overwhelm you and become like, wow, this is something I should do, but I just don't have time, because that's immediately where our technician mind goes. Think simple. Think, what if you did just 2 of these out of the 5? What if you decided to fully commit to one of these for 3 months? Let's not do any of the others. Let's just fully commit to this idea of a one-on-one meeting with employees. And you make that the topic of your management meeting for yourself. You make that a high priority where you're going to sit and you're going to at least once a quarter or once a month sit with each employee that you manage and go through the agenda and basically have a how's it going meeting. Anybody who argues with that, I think, is really off base. Maybe once a week is too much for you, but once a month, I think you could squeeze that out, even if it's 20 minutes or half an hour. Once a quarter, you could definitely do that. So fully commit to one of these and decide we're going to do it in TouchStone. We're going to teach everyone how to collect this process, every manager, how to read the work plans here, just to remind yourself of how to do it or to learn how to do it. Go and look at the documents and the forms, kind of decide of these that all came from the library, which ones do we really want to use. You can even sit with your managers together and decide together. Here we're looking at we're looking at what's here. But if I wanted to edit this or change it, I would go to the 4 key functions. I'd go to this one-on-one meeting process, and we could have it on a big screen, sit there and customize it in a matter of minutes. It's not going to take that long. Delete what you don't want out of here. Like if you think this first meeting agenda work plan is not too much for whatever reason, this is just what you do for a brand new employee. They don't like it, you don't like it, just delete it. You can always go and restore it later. So clean the process up, get a commitment to it, decide which of these forms is going to be used for the agenda, this one or this one, delete the one that you're not going to use. Talk about this with your managers. So I want you to fill in their name, fill in the date, items to discuss. It does not have to be really intense. It could be 2 items, it could be 3 items. Go through and fill it all out and save it. That's all they got to do. They decide when their employees, when they're going to meet with them, for how long. And just commit to that and see how it goes. If it goes well and you can get people to stick to it, then move on to another management process. Decide, well, that went really well, or that's working. Let's try this key indicators process next. All of these are from the library, by the way. So you go to the guiding the business area and you pull them down from the library. So when someone goes to their control panel inside a TouchStone, they're going to go there for a couple of reasons. The first reason they would go is if they're being trained. So if I'm a new employee and there are some processes in TouchStone that have been documented, even if they're not fully, completely done, this would be a reason why someone would come here to their control panel. Another reason they would come here is if there's something to complete. So you saw me kind of going through and doing that with some of the processes here, like this one, key performance indicators. Let's say that I'm going to go here to complete this process. So I'm actually using it. I would go down here to the custom form tool, or I'd go to the document tool, depending on which form we've decided to use. So let's go to the custom form one first. So this is very simple, right? These are the key indicators for the month. I can put in the date, I can put what the key indicator is, and then I save it. And when I save it, it saves a copy of this form back to TouchStone. I didn't save it as anything. You could save it as Q4 here if you wanted to, and even put in notes. When you save something, it date and time stamps it right here. So if the save as makes sense when you're saving the process, then use the save as. If it doesn't make sense because it's time driven and you know that it's going to date and time stamp it, then you don't necessarily have to use this. The save as is what you can search for. Clearly you can search for date, time, date, this, or you can search for the save as, or you can search for the type of tool. So we're going to talk about reporting over here in a second. But the save as, that is its main purpose, is it gives you something to search. So let's go back here. This is a document in the dashboard. So the document, remember, is like a blank Word document. So here's just a form that's been put into the document tool. This is good for key indicators because sometimes it's not as simple as measuring a number. You can have tangible and intangible indicators, and you can see an example of this if you download the key performance indicator process through the library. So this is where we're trying to evaluate a quality sometimes. So you do like a scale of -5 to +5, and then you give it a rating. So same idea with this. I can fill this all out here. These fields are all live. I could save it as Q4 if I wanted to, or I could leave the save as blank, and then I just hit save. Now, because I'm logged in with my username and password, and I'm completing things in the dashboard, TouchStone knows that I'm doing that because it ties it to my name. So like if there's no reason to put a person's name here in this field. We go back here to the dashboard. Anything I'm doing here is unique to me and can be searched and seen by my manager just because I'm doing it inside of my control panel. If John was in here in customer support filling out forms and documents, then I know if I search over here, I know he's the one who did it. So again, there's no reason to put names and things when they're being saved. Let's go to another example. You can also use uploaded files on the dashboard. So I go here, I can view, like this is the budget for the year. If I click that, if I hit view file, then Excel's going to launch and it's going to show me the file. If I work in that file, I'm adding numbers to it, I'm changing it, those changes are happening in Excel. But if I save that file and then I go upload completed file, I can go to that file and then click add, say okay, and now that new file is uploaded to TouchStone. So with uploaded files, it's like you're replacing the old one with the new one. So if something's being filled out like a budget, I would save that and then re-upload it. And then when I go back over here, if I look over this way, I can see in the budget, this little saved area, and that's where my files are. So anytime something is saved or completed, if you go to that title of that tool and you hit the saved area, you'll see that saved document or that saved file. Another way to find saved things is by running a report, which we'll go over in a second here. So anytime something is saved, if you want to find it right inside of where you are, you go all the way to the right here to this button called saved, and then you're going to see every single file that's been uploaded. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning here. So here in the dashboard, people are coming, your employees are coming here if they're learning something brand new, they're new employees or there's a new process, or if they're using it, if they're using the process. And an example of using it is what we just looked at. So they're using the uploaded file tool here in the budgeting template. They're using the document tool here in the key performance indicators. They're using the custom form tool here in one-on-one. They're completing a checklist that might be in a process. So they're using it when they're completing that work. Anytime you select something here from the dashboard and you click on it, in case it's not obvious, nothing can be edited or changed here. Like I can't edit or change this form at all because I'm where it's being used. So if this needs to be edited or changed for whatever reason, that has to be done through the 4 key functions. Someone with the right access needs to go to this form and then they can edit and change it. And then wherever it is linked or in TouchStone, it's updated there. Okay, so let's go back. So let's go through an example of the different situations where someone would be using their control panel. So the first example was for new employee training. So if I'm the manager here and I've got a new bookkeeper or a new customer service person, I would be able to see their processes that are in their control panel. And I could organize them something like this if I wanted to. So here's a subject, time management, and I've decided this is going to be week 1 training. Then I've got customer service processes, and this is going to be week 2 training. So all I did to create this training plan is to go to create group, and then I typed in time management training week 1. And then I drug all the processes that I wanted that person to be trained on in week 1 into this group. So this is 4 weeks of training here, plus the public processes. So these are all the processes from the dashboard that the new employee needs to be trained in as well. So this is simple and straightforward. Decide what that person's going to learn in week 1, 2, and 3. When you're deciding what can be accomplished in 1 week, like these 4 processes, you need to be thinking about if they had to study the work plans, watch videos, and read what's in TouchStone, that's a certain amount of time. But then in some of the processes, they need to practice. So they may, in customer complaints, they may listen to someone else handling a complaint. Or you might do like a role play of it where you're pretending to be the customer and they're, having the complaint and filling it out. So decide what amount of practice needs to occur. There, in some processes that are more complicated, they may study this content, watch videos, practice, and then, they've got the fundamentals of it, but slowly over time, they're going to start to gain more and more knowledge. So decide what you think that time would be for each process. Once you do this once, you're then going to learn so much more about what it actually takes. Clearly, some positions are simpler than others. But do your best in the beginning, or have your manager decide what the timing of it all is. So then what happens is John shows up for his first day of work. And I can either have him go through each of these processes, click them, read them, watch them, study them, and then move on to the next, and then move on to the next. Or I can actually assign him the process as a way of I can show him, or I can assign him, and then TouchStone kind of tells him when it's due and what to do. So to assign a process, I would go here to the process. I can assign a tool within a process. So I can assign this work plan, or I can assign the whole process. So for training purposes, new employee training, you're probably going to go and assign the whole process because you'll want them to study and learn everything in it. So let's do that example first. Oops. So I click this, assign entire process. Then I'm going to go and choose a due date. So this daily time log is one of 4 processes that he's going to learn in a week. So if this is his first week, I'm going to say, well, this is due on the 10th, the last day of that week. So here's where you're having to think more. Well, what amount of time do you think this is going to take him? You can put in any notes or directions here in this notes field that the manager wants to give. Send him a notification. That sends him an email saying that a process has been assigned. And then I hit assign. So now this whole process has been assigned. I want to go back and see the assignment. I'm here now in management review for John, and you can see over to the right here, there's the process that has been assigned. So John logs into TouchStone, and then he sees the assignment. He clicks on the assignment and completes the process. And then I get a notification back, or the manager does, that process has been completed. At that point in time, depending on what the process is, the manager, because the manager is managing the employee and teaching the employee the process, the manager, which is me in this example, thinks about this daily time log process, looks through any notes or information that John has put into here. Sometimes it's as straightforward as, yeah, I've got it. Here's an example of me doing it. If I'm happy with John's training of this process, I click it, and then I mark him as trained right here. So that shows these little green tick marks, which is assigned to him, and anyone else is looking at it, then he's been trained. Then I could take this and drag this down to the bottom of week 1, and now we're on to this one. So these tools in the dashboard are helping the manager to manage the employee with the process. That's the intention of all of this, that these processes are important for John to learn in his new employee training. I'm assigning it to him. We're discussing it, going through it. He's practicing it. He completes it. And then we move on to the next one. So it's this methodical kind of step-by-step training that he goes through. This is going to be like a breath of fresh air to new employees that you hire. If you want to create a game worth playing, a place worth being, to have an employee step in, and not everything in its minute detail can be documented perfectly. But if you had 50% of this done well, that would be, outstanding for a new employee. Then he's being kind of walked through every process week by week. Now, if I'm in the middle of this and I get to week 2 and John is just struggling, like I haven't marked him as trained in any of these because there's been some issues and problems with how he's learning or what's been happening, I might decide at that point that maybe John wasn't the best hire. Maybe there were some issues that didn't get vetted out fully before we hired him. So this is giving your managers a way to analyze how the employee is learning things and if they're going to be capable. Because you all remember this scenario, right? Where we're hiring people here and then we're moving them here and then we're moving them here. Well, if I hire someone here and now I'm investing this time and training them week by week, and I get through half of it and I realize they're going to really have a struggle to get to here and definitely not to here, well, I might cut my losses. Or I might decide, wow, he's just zipping through all of this. He's learning it really well. Maybe he'll get up into lead tech, in half the time it took the last person. So it gives a magnifying glass for your managers onto that employee. If they don't have tools like this, if you don't have tools like this, you're just kind of bringing people aboard and hoping for the best. Like, go watch that guy for a few months and hopefully you learn what he's doing. It's just like throwing them to the wolves almost. So really backing into it with something basic like what's happening here in TouchStone can be, really great for your managers and for your employees. So the hope is that by the end of the 4 weeks, John has gone through and learned all these various processes. I've assigned them to him if I want to, or we've just sat and walked through them, whatever works best for you. And then these little green check marks appear in all of these processes, over that first month. Now, if my manager, I'm this position, and my manager is the president or the CEO. If my manager's wondering, boy, we hired these 3 new employees last month, I wonder what's happening with them. Rather than coming to me and questioning what I'm doing or wondering if they're being trained thoroughly, because it's my name on the sign, I want to know, how are they being trained? All they need to do is come to TouchStone and go over here to reports and run a management report. So this is the reporting section. And there are 2 types of reports. There's a control panel report, which is me running a report of my own work. So what I'm doing in my own control panel here. And then there's a management report. And the management report is the manager running a report on what their employees are doing down here in management review. The highest box on the org chart can see into everyone else's control panels. So if we go to the org chart, this person and this person here can see into everyone's control panels, the highest box on the org chart. This position that I am can only see into the ones below me. The manager of operations can only see into the ones below that person. So when you have management levels, like this is a management level, the 2 senior positions here, if my manager is going through training for this position, or my employee is going through training for this position down here, and I want to know how's it going, I don't have to go ask them. I can run a report because I've got the highest box above. So let's go back to reports. So let's go through these one at a time. A control panel report is, again, me looking at the work that I'm doing in my own control panel. So in the report, you can search by date range. So start date, end date, that could be a week, a day, a month. You can search the save as. So here's where the save as comes in. This you can search a date or an employee's name or whatever that form was saved as. Position. This is if you have multiple control panels. So sometimes, again, positions have, or people have multiple control panels if they fill more than one role. So you can run reports specifically for a certain role that you fill. And then tool type. So I could look for just checklists or just forms or just documents. So let's do a date range. And then I hit run report. And sorry, nothing's coming up because I probably don't have an example saved. Let's go further back and hopefully there's something there. Oh, it's because of this. Okay. It's going to think. There you go. So this is what the report looks like. It's broken up by tool type. So here's work plans that I've completed. Here's checklists that I've completed. Here's uploaded files that I've completed, documents. All these untitled is because I didn't save it as anything. So the report will tell you what type of tool was completed. And then if you look at the details of it, it's going to show you the process name and then the name of that work plan. That's in gray right here. And the date. If I want to view this, I click it, and now I can see this completed work plan. Back to search results. Let's go to a checklist. If I click this, now I see this completed checklist. So running a management report is similar, except you're looking at your employees that you have management review for. So if I go here to reports, and then I click management review, now I still have these options, start date, end date. I can still search the save as, but here's where it gets interesting because I can choose the employee that I want to run the report on. If I don't choose the employee, then I see everyone. And you can choose process tool type. Let's choose a type and then hit run report. So here you're seeing just custom forms that were completed because that's the type I chose just to wean down this report a little bit. And then I see the employee's name there. Because I didn't choose a user or a name from the dropdown, I'm going to see everybody. So here's John. It shows you the name of the process and the name of the tool that was completed. And if I scroll down, I'll see every employee with this criteria that I searched for. You can also download these to a CSV file if you want to sort them or organize them in a different way. So what happens in the reports and why they would be completed is this is allowing the manager or even the employee to see statistics in a way, see confirmation that things have been done. So again, we've talked a lot about how a manager manages with processes. So if I'm going to manage with processes, I'm training people, like you saw in new employee training. They're filling things out, they're saving things, they're going through the training, and then I'm reviewing it. This is why we call this management review, because I want to review what my employees have been doing. That's what the reports are for. So management review reports just allows you to make sure that what you're requiring your employees to get done, they're actually getting done. So here's just a real life example. If I have, for my customer service people, I have a daily to-do list that I want them to do, a daily to-do checklist, or I've got a checklist when they're scheduling that they have to fill out. Or if there's quality control issues or safety issues, I've got a checklist that they need to fill out. And the expectation, because I've given them the training, is that they're going to fill this out once a week, they're going to fill it out once a month. What happens when they don't do it? That's always the biggest question. Getting things implemented is one thing, but making sure that they're continuing to be used is a whole other thing. There's no simple answer to this other than the manager has to look at it. The manager has to check. What we're used to is not checking until there's a problem. So I have some type of fire burning. I've got an angry customer on the phone. Now I know there was a problem. And then I'm thinking, did John actually fill the form out and make sure that that request was handled? Well, I don't know. Now I have to check. So that's what managers are used to. But what you want to get them used to is not just checking when there's a problem, but checking all the time. So if I want to make sure that John is doing his checklist once a month or once a week, all I need to do is go here, go to management review, choose him, choose checklist, put a date range in, hit run report. And now I can look and see, okay, there's his checklist for those 3 or 4 months. If I look through the dates here and he's missing one, then I'm going to go right back here to the dashboard. I'm going to go to John right here in customer service. I'm going to go to that checklist and I'm going to assign it to him. Click assignment, give him literally 1 day or the same day, send him a notification, put in the notes field, you forgot, and send it to him, assign. So he's going to get a notification saying, oh, wow, I did forget my checklist that week. And she noticed. When he gets this notification, let's pretend that I'm getting the notification. I'll see the little red notification icon, and then I'll go over here to my assignments, and I'll see that process that's been assigned to me. If I want to look at the notes that my manager has left me, I can click this little notes field and see them. I'll go to that assignment. I go through and complete the checklist or the form, whatever I missed, whatever was assigned to me, and then I hit save and complete. When that happens, my manager then gets a notification that I've done it, that I filled the checklist out. So this assignment piece is one of our newer features, and what it's attempting to do is keep that accountability. So make sure that there's a quick and easy way when a manager sees that something hasn't been done to go and make sure it is done. So managers will assign processes or process tools when something's been missed, which they told the employee they needed to do. They may assign processes like we did here regarding new employee training. So I might go through and assign all 4 of these for the first month, and then John would go in and complete them. I might also assign processes if John's having a problem with something. So I've given you this kind of situation before, and it can come up in the one-on-one meeting process, or it can come up just with me noticing that there's a problem. So let's imagine that during the customer complaint process, there was a customer who called me and said, John didn't handle my issue well enough. I then take that information and say, okay, John didn't fill out this form correctly, or he forgot to walk through the warranty process with that customer, or whatever issue went on with that process. I would go to the process. I could assign the whole process if I felt like John needed to do a review of it all. Or let's say maybe he just didn't fill out the form correctly. Then I could go to the customer complaint form. I could go right down here to assign custom form. So up here was assign the whole process. Right here is assign something specific inside of a process, like a custom form. Click this, same idea. I'm going to give it a due date, send a notification, and here I'm going to tell him why. So I'm going to type in, this piece of this form was incorrect. The consequence was the customer called me. Please review it and let's talk about it in our next meeting if you have any questions. Then I hit assign. Again, he gets the notification saying that there's an issue. He'll see it over here in his assignments window. So this allows us to communicate using the process and really address specific issues with the process. The one-on-one meeting process really goes along with this idea of assigning when there's a problem. So back here, if I know I'm having a one-on-one meeting with John that week or later in the week, and there's a problem, I can assign that process to him, and then I add it to my agenda form for a one-on-one meeting. Another plug about the one-on-one meeting, if you get good at this, you can start to save things for the meeting, and it causes or creates more efficiency. It creates better time management. It creates more focus, not multitasking, not as stressful, because I don't have to jump out of what I'm doing and try to fix this. I know it can wait for the meeting, and so it waits. I add it to the agenda, and that's it. So assignments, again, are used for They're used for ongoing training. They're used for new employee training. They're used when something's been forgotten, the employee's forgotten to do something. And they're also used for when something new happens. So if there's a new process, say, that's been created over in the 4 key functions, and I want to tell the whole department that there's this new process, I want you to review it, study it, and we'll talk about it in our department meeting. Or if there's something within a process that's been updated and new, like a new policy regarding the process. So in that case, when the process is new, it's the same idea. I would go to that employee that I want to assign it to, something new in the budget maybe. I go here and assign the process, give it a due date, give them an adequate amount of time to review it, go down here in the notes field and put in, what's new, what is this, and then assign it. So innovation is really, it becomes something that you can do in a much more direct way when you've got a documented process already. Because if something is already documented and I make an improvement to it or I add something to it, it's easier to notice when and how I need to do that. But then once that's done, I can implement it and I could show it to all the employees through the process assignment. So this is all, again, about implementation, first of all. So we implement through new employee training, typically. If you're in a situation where you have a lot of existing employees and you're just now trying to fully document even some of the processes, then your version of implementation with existing employees should be the same. Now, you may not want to go and organize groups, like I've done here, but if you have a new process that you've just documented, and even if John here has been doing customer satisfaction or cleaning for years for you already, it's still a good idea to assign the process, the new process that's been fully documented, assign it to him and say, hey, look this over. We just documented this. I want to start to make sure it's done this way, in the same way, and everybody does it the same way. Review it and let me know what you think. So you need to implement even for existing employees, because if you document processes and then you just say, hey, here are these processes, they're not as likely to go and actually read them unless you insist. So assignment for in the control panel is great for this idea of implementation. And then you saw varying examples of management with processes. So manage with processes is making sure that employees are following them. If you have a checklist, if you have a form, that is filled out. And you do all that by quickly checking over here in reports. Now, all of this for some of you is new, and I kind of get that. And sometimes there's a learning curve with it all. But you really want to ask yourself, does the hour it's going to take maybe to learn this, is that worth it? Will that result in better management? I think it would be hard to argue with that. So this idea of learning something new is definitely valid. But for your managers, unless you're really great at training people on how to be managers, my guess is you don't have a whole lot, or most small businesses don't. So teaching your managers how to manage with processes, how to create this management system, even if it's just these 5 processes, the amount of time it's going to take to do that with your managers and to make sure that these processes are actually going to be used is well worth it at the end of the day. And again, start small. Decide on one process maybe in the management arena that you want to use. Clearly, the more you document, the better. And as the documentation happens slowly over time, you're going to get value from every process you document. But in the management side, this takes more of a concerted effort and a training of everyone you're going to call manager in your company. So choose something easy to start with. Have a goal of maybe implementing these 5 processes over the next 5 months. That's 1 process a month. You assign this process to everyone, to all of your managers. create a quarterly meeting maybe where you review that process together, and you each come with examples of how each manager comes with examples of how they've used it. You could even go here to reports and run a management report and see if they're actually using the one-on-one meeting process. Because if they are, you should see those agenda forms all saved in when you run a report. Then you can bring those to your meeting and talk about it. And follow through, talk about the value of it all and what they're going to get from it. Have success stories in the meeting where each manager is responsible for talking about a success they had with having better communication with their employees. So in that example, 5 processes over 5 months, maybe 2 or 3 hours in that month to get these fully documented over time. Well worth it. One more thought on process documentation itself. If I've got, let's say let's go to this one and see if there's any examples there. No. So all these processes I've marked black just for training purposes. But when a process isn't fully documented, it's red, which means it's just a title, or it's blue, right? Because it has some documentation in it, but it's not finished. So let's imagine that you have created your 4 key functions list, you've built all your job descriptions, and then some of these job descriptions are finished. The processes are all finished, and a lot of them maybe aren't. Let's go to this position. So these are all black, but if they weren't marked as complete, just so people know what I'm talking about, you're going to see it more like this, blue or even red. So you may have a lot of job descriptions who've got red processes on them. Maybe none are black. Maybe you've got a few that are blue that are being worked on. And then let's imagine that you want to get your employees involved in the documenting of the process, because that's a really valuable thing to do. So you look at every employee in your department here, looking at this department, and you say, well, this bookkeeper, she's pretty good at what she's doing. She's kind of a good linear thinker. I'm going to have her help me document these processes. So you sit and look at the bookkeeper job description together, and you decide what's first, what's second, what's third to document. You put them in order of priority here on the job description. Then you can go and assign the process to her and decide, okay, she's going to help me for 2 hours a month for the next 6 months, 2 hours a week for the next 6 months. Think of what's reasonable to ask of that person, given they already have a full-time job. Go to their position here in management review and assign them the process. Click the process, assign it, give it a due date of the end of that month, 1 process a month, 2 or 3 hours. And you can even put the amount of time, spend 3 hours, document the process, assign. So now I've just assigned this to her. And when she's finished with it, we'll review it together, decide whether it's good or not, add more to it. And then when it's finished, we turn it black, click it again. Everything looks great. It's complete. And then we move on to the next process. So you can use process assignment to kind of help you with the ongoing documentation of your processes. It's easy to get lost in this. So it's really a matter of just kind of looking at the whole and deciding what's going to be first and who's going to help with that. Once you get to this place of all the job descriptions are built, so essentially you've done 4 functions, org chart, job descriptions, then it's slowly documenting the processes over time. And either one person can do that, the manager, or you can get employees involved. And in that case, it's just a matter of looking at each of these positions on the org chart, organizing the processes in order of priority, making sure that the person knows how to document, using the process tools. You can have them watch the videos of this exact section on documenting in the process tools, which are over here in the resource center. We are happy to meet with your employees at any point and train them on how to just use the process tools to document. And then you create a plan for slowly over time getting those processes documented. So that's just a few thoughts on the big project of getting everything completed. Over here in the Resource Center, there, for those of you who aren't familiar with the Resource Center, there's a user guide section right here that has a step-by-step for all the functionality in TouchStone. And then right down here, if you go webinars, learn more, and then you click TouchStone technical training, these are this 7 series session, except for number 7. That one hasn't been replaced yet. So some of you have been asking for recordings ahead of time, which I've been sending out to people, but they all are here now, all the updated recordings. These two, number 4 and 5, are great for learning how to document a process using the process tools. So 4 and 5 are great for that if you have employees that you want to have them help you. If you've got managers who you like this idea of teaching them and deciding on management processes, having them watch 4 and 5 definitely, then probably also 2 and 3, because remember, here's how I talked a lot about using the job descriptions or the control panels, kind of the same thing as management tools. And there was a lot about the one-on-one meeting process in here. One final pitch: if you have a group of managers, 2, 3, maybe you have 5, we're happy to do a specific session just for your team on the management processes that we talked about over here, or whichever ones you decide that you want to be a priority. So all of these, or again, whatever the 1 or 2 you decide, show them the processes, have them get into TouchStone, organize their control panels, review that process together. In about an hour, if we looked at this one-on-one meeting process or any of these, you could customize this, kind of make it really fit for what your managers want to do, and then implement it. Have them go out and try it for a month or 2 with their employees. Same idea with the management philosophy over here. Creating a management philosophy, and then from that, breaking off into what are these management processes that we want to all commit to using. I've got a few questions which I'll email people individually about. Thank you for coming, everybody. There's a lot more information on the process assignment in the Resource Center. For those of you who that was kind of quick, that was like a quick introduction to all of this. We get feedback all the time and really hope that this is user friendly. So it shouldn't take, a huge amount of effort to learn how to use it. But if you need more, there are videos here in the Resource Center. There's even a video. I'm just going to show you where they are. Learn more. And then you go down here to process assignment right here on the bottom. There's even a video right here on process assignment for staff. So if you want to start using process assignment, even just a little bit, you can have your employees that are going to be getting assignments watch this little short video. And then here is kind of a step-by-step for everything regarding process assignment. Thanks for coming, everybody. I've enjoyed being with you. And remember, reach out if you ever need help. Here in the Resource Center, there's this support tab. This is a great way to get a hold of us. You may have somebody's email address that you can send an email to whenever you feel like it. But if you don't, then come here to contact support. Training is always free, so reach out when you need help.